All right, another day to talk about Saint-Denis. This is Saint-Denis, and this is said to be one of the most dangerous place in the Ile-de-France area, which is well, Paris and the suburb. No, I wouldn't say suburb. Well, suburbs, outskirts of Paris, the greater Paris area, and so this is it, and this is supposed to be, all right, the most dangerous, and it's a working class area, and when you come around here, you notice a lot of immigrants are here, and people are saying, okay, that is why it is dangerous. People sleeping on the streets. You don't want to be in Saint-Denis at night because anything can happen. When you hear that, you're thinking, enough said. I'll just stay wherever. I'll stay in very close to the Eiffel Tower. Anyway, this is a map of the city center. Of course, the city center is not representative of the whole area, but it is still fascinating. This reminds me of a place in Amsterdam, and where you have good architecture. Okay, I'm going to show you something. So you have all the apartments at the top, and then at the bottom you have the shops and everything else, and it makes it a bit more lively. But that said, it still has its reputation. It's one of those areas that's got that reputation, and people are saying, okay, since the Olympics things have improved because the Olympic village, they used the opportunity to basically to scrap a few things, rebuild other things, and just make things better. And you think, well, of all the things you can say about the Olympics, making things better is not one of them. There's a reason for that, but anyway. Nice place to go out to lunch. So this is the center of Saint-Denis. There are a lot of works, improvement going on. It creates jobs and hopefully improves the lives of people. But that said, the reputation precedes it, but it's not as if it's not earned. And the reason for this, I'm just going to walk around the town center. And the reason for this is that a lot of tourists here, or people coming to visit, I don't know what there is to visit, because one of the things you notice here is that when you check the list of things to do in Paris, Saint-Denis is not one of them. You never say top 10 things to do, top 10 places to visit in Paris. And by the way, if you say you live in Saint-Denis, and people say in Paris, Saint-Denis, they make a distinction between what it is and that this is not Paris. And if you, it's really nice here, I have to say. The town center and the cathedral, that's why people come here. La mairie, like the town hall, is it's not shabby at all. And people come here to visit. So most of the people, of course, they're not going into the La Cité, in the more residential area that some would consider ghetto. Oh, the cathedral is nice. So you see, I think this is an important thing when people actually talk about an area and everyone just generalizes. Look, it is dangerous. All right, so when you come here, people say, one of the first things is, if you don't see locals eating out in the restaurant, this is what sort of a restaurant, okay, whatever. So if you don't see people eating out. I wonder if it's paid to visit the cathedral. But anyway, it looks nice. I think the center of town, like always, there's a lot of investment here, and they've made it really nice restaurants and all the good things that you see. So now, talking about that, let's talk about the reason why this place is what it is. So, it's a working class area, and according to some people, some would like to blame the whole, the danger of the area on immigration. But others have said this area, just on the outside of Paris, has been what it is today, and has always been a sort of a dodgy area. I don't know how true that is, but I'm not really surprised, because most working class areas, if you go to, if you've seen the film The Peaky Blinders, which is based on some events in the north of Midlands in the UK, you notice something, that often middle class manual jobs in the rails, in the mines, it's always a lot of working people, honest people. Then you get the other side of it, which is, people coming in to commit crime. So it just tends to go hand in hand. So of course, the crime is a bit more in your face, and the area is often also a bit more, less affluent, and then it sort of, not white crime, white collar crimes, it's just other sort of crime. So I think so far so good from the town center. And I think there was someone who came, I don't know if the person came to send me, but anyway, one of the sort of cité in the in France, and went to all the bad areas and said, hey, look, this is why this area is bad, and that's why it is dangerous, and that's why it's a no-go area. And people are saying, look, you can't come here and only show what is negative, because if you were going to only do that, you get the same thing no matter where you are. And I think that makes sense, that basically you look for what you want to see. For example, if you want to see all the fancy areas in Paris and say, oh, Paris is absolutely gorgeous, you go to near the Eiffel Tower, near the Louvre, Le Marais, you go to Saint-Germain, all the nice neighborhoods where there is a bit more, it's a bit more affluent. And then if you're a YouTuber or I don't know, something else, and you want to show how bad the place is, you could also go to a place where it's like, all the cité, look, Paris it's dirty and smelly. So you look for all the dirty streets, or maybe the market's just over and there is a rubbish on the street. So you look for that, and then you show that. It's very hard not to have an agenda when you visit a place like this. And the reason why it's hard not to have an agenda is because if you're trying to get views on YouTube, you need to put some salacious headlines, thumbnails. Ooh, look, the most dangerous, suddenly in Paris, a no-go zone. And then you go into the cité and then you interview some some, well, I wouldn't say locals, representative of what you have in mind, and you film that, and that's it. But others are saying, look, I'm local here, and this is the La Poste. It's an interesting post office. I think I need to show you this. That's the post office. Interesting building. So this is the high street. It looks like it, the main high street. It's very busy for a Friday. So a lot of Afro stores, and what else do you have? Sort of affordable things. Suits. Does anyone still wear suits these days? Someone singing, but the type of singing that you're just in the zone, not the type of busking where you want to get people to pay attention and give you some change. Something else I noticed is how clean the street is. I know it's a low bar when you say that, because the streets are supposed to be clean. You're paying taxes and things like that for it, but sometimes that's what you expect. But when it's not, and you've been to quite a few places where things are not really up to par, you start to just expect it in big cities, especially when you have a lot of immigrant population. But so far, I think the main street of it just feels, like a normal high street. But of course, it's just like everything else. The further away you go into some location, bonjour. Oui. So it's an interesting walk down the streets of sometimes the main high street is representative of what actually happens. If you go to a city where the center of town looks run down and most of the shops are closed, especially during the week, it's not a good sign, because then it means if the city is unable to afford to add any sort of value to the city center, imagine the neighborhoods. It would be terrible. But so far, so good. But I think it's also, it's almost like a relief when you've heard about the stories and you come here and you're like, okay, it's going to be bad. So there is something about Saint-Denis that is just absolutely amazing. It's the population. It is said that it has over 1.6 million people. I'm like, where is everybody? And then you come to the market, you think, okay, it is a very popular market with a lot of cheap things, and that is why a lot of people actually, oh, this is absolutely delicious. Okay. All right, we'll come back for that later. But anyway, a lot of they're quite affordable traveling bags and things like that. And this is why it is said that almost 80,000 people moved into Saint-Denis in the past 10 years. So a lot more people have moved here. The simple reason, it is affordable. Affordability attracts more people, and of course it also attracts people with lower income, and it also attracts immigrants. It attracts people down on their luck. It attracts people, who look like you, because then if you go to a place where people look like you feel safer. If there is food that you can eat that is closer to what you are used to eating, it attracts you as well. If you can get cheap, what's it called? Paris cap. Bonjour. So there's just so many things going for it. Then the population keeps growing, and of course you've got the sort of visible minority, and people say, why is it so dangerous? But most people who actually live here don't actually see it as dangerous. They see it as just home. The multiple generations have been here, 80, 90 years, if not even more than that. But of course, when you're in the center, you've got the police going around. When you're in the center, something you notice is that it's just like normal, cheap, affordable. But then underneath all that lies, gold. Are these real gold though? Because I've seen quite a few of these markets, and then I just wonder if they're real gold or just gold plated. It doesn't matter as long as you look fly. All right. So the question about safety, underneath all the area, is this: that a lot of people with questionable history also moved here. And then there's well, you can't deny the fact that there is atmosphere here. Grilled chicken, wings, nice. Panhandling on the street, yeah, you could. I think this is amazing. Oh, all right. There are two things. I'm just really, the atmosphere is absolutely electrifying to see. All right, two things I was going to mention. All the nationalities, the visible ones and the not so visible. First of all, a lot of Eastern Europeans are here, which of course you wouldn't know, but they're here. And a lot of the people actually who came here at the time, during the Yugoslavian war, and then the economic difficulties in Poland and all these other countries, Serbia, a lot of people moved here, and then most of them couldn't speak French, like unlike those from the former French colonies. So they struggled and come into a place like this where they face less discrimination because it's just a melting pot of people from all over the place. It was easier for them to integrate. Others went to smaller cities. Not everyone came to Paris. But anyway, the whole point was that once all that happened, the first generation, the next generation would often move out of this area and go to somewhere else. And the reason you want to do that is because, well, Saint-Denis' reputation is just like a sort of a working class area with less opportunities. But if most people just go to university and then they move elsewhere once that's done. This market is big. There's so many people. I don't even know where I am at the moment. I know I'm just like not too far from the center, but they've got an efficient tram service and bus service here, so public transport is pretty good in Saint-Denis, and it's always packed though, so that's one of the problems. All right, so the market just seems to, okay, you've got the presence of the police municipale, parce que, you know, they're here. It's just a reminder so that you behave. All right, so we were at the food market over there, and then now everything here. Okay, this is the other section of the market in Saint-Denis. All right, the other side, the underneath is like a lot of the people.
They will be only in the package.
All the other people, when they started here, was that there was lack of opportunities, and then a lot of younger people, first or second generation born in France, felt that they were not part of the French society. They were rejected from the French society. Anyway. So because of that, they didn't know what to do. A lot of people, and then, you know, a lot of them ended up, you know, doing illegal things like, you know, drug trafficking and all these other things. And then the gang started, and the whole idea of the gang just starts like everywhere else, where you go to a place and everyone's like, oh, you know, my cité. It's just like something called the beef in the US, where a lot of Black Americans, I'm not even talking, they've been there for generations, but they face discrimination, lack of opportunities, and then, you know, music was an outlet for some. Others went into gangs, not the Bloods and the, what's it called? Yeah, the gangs anyway. I can't remember the name of them. But the whole point that they went into these as a way to belong to something. But then it's one of those things, you get into it, you can't get out. And it was just really terrible. And the same thing happened in the city. And one of the strangest things is that most of those disenfranchised younger people were mostly those born in France, and most people couldn't get their heads around that. They grew up here, but they just felt that they didn't belong, they were not accepted. Someone recently said, look, I was born in Strasbourg, like in the east of France, and we faced discrimination because we were black in the country, in the States. And then I went to do my degree to become a lawyer, and at the time I was told, here in Strasbourg, it's going to be difficult for you to get a job. I personally know people from Lille, which is in northern France, and they went to university as well because Lille's got a huge university presence there. And they said the lack of opportunity, just because you're a minority, you're brown, you're black or whatever, means they couldn't get a job. So most of them actually moved away and went to Paris because they felt Paris, you've got better chances. And I think this is one of those things where a lot of people might not even be aware of it, or they're aware of it but they don't care. That if you come to a place then like Saint-Denis, where not everyone, you are a minority, for example, getting work experience, it is almost compulsory, depending on in France where you study. To get your degree, you need to go and do like work experience, and most of the work experience requires you. They sometimes, a lot of the black and young Arab students would not get an opportunity to go and get a stage, it's called. So you do a stage, it's like work experience thing, but they would not be employed. So it was more difficult for them just finishing their studies, and now imagine getting a job. So a lot of these people, young people, just got discouraged and said, okay, yeah, I'm just going to, join a gang, and then it just became, they turned into criminals basically. Of course, the intention wasn't that. At the beginning, you get basically drawn in, thinking, oh, now you belong, you're someone, but you're selling drugs on the streets. That's not good. Before you know it, you're completely out of your mind, and most ended up either being killed or ended up in prison. So you see that when you come to the reputation of any area, poor area, with a lot of immigrants, minorities, is not always clear cut. What you're seeing on the surface about people and their struggles is that it's hard to just say it's black and white. The struggle is real, and not everyone makes it, and that is the sad part of it. But that said, there are also idiots. They're just opportunists. They complain. They're given the opportunity. They don't take the opportunity. They just want everything to be given to them for free. You also have that. But anyway, in the center of Saint-Denis, it's just, working class, cheap food, cheap products, very busy on a weekday, which is a good thing. So I don't think people here are struggling with, empty high street. Everyone just seems to be having a good having a good time. It's a way, it's just another way of putting it, but you get the point. Anyway, that's my take on the center of Saint-Denis. It doesn't look dangerous, but this is not the dangerous part.